Dr. Saleem, thank you so much for being at BIC, and it's a real honor to have you here. Thank you for being here. I actually, before Dr. Saleem came over, I sent him a cheeky message about 45 minutes ago, telling him what time he should leave his Infantry Road office to make it in time out here. The genesis for today's session, as I did write to some friends, I don't want to jinx it, but there is something about Bangalore traffic that has improved in the last few weeks. And, there is a rule which says that if you look at a thing too closely, the benefit disappears. I hope that's not the case out here. But the trigger for this session really was something good is happening, and can we try and figure out what's working, and can we have more of what's working going forward? So that really was the genesis of this particular session. So, Dr. Saleem, I'd like to really start the session by asking you, clearly you have done a few interventions within your constraints. Your constraints are many, and we will come to that because there are many agencies involved and many things need to work together for you to deliver on traffic mobility on the ground. But what would you say are the top 3 or 5 things you have done in the recent past, your second stint in the post, that you believe is yielding results?
Thank you, Mr. Ravichandar. Thank you, dear friends. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Ravichandar.
They make it Ravi.
Because I know him since long, I think BATF days. He has been, I can say, as somebody has rightly called, apostle, I can say, as far as Bangalore civic matters are concerned. He's taken keen interest, in fact. At that time also, I was a new person in Bangalore. I was a DCP at that time. Since then, in my second stint as additional commissioner also, he has been helping us, in the sense helping traffic police in various capacities and various ways. I am grateful, and when he told me that he want a program, interaction program with citizens, I was, I can say, overwhelmed. In fact, I felt great that a person like Mr. Ravi, who has been so like a mentor for traffic police, I can say, has come forward, and since he is doing so much on his own voluntarily, it is my duty also to respond and also to be here. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Now coming down to traffic management, first of all, I would like to make it a disclaimer that traffic police is not the whole, I can say, the whole and soul of traffic management in any city. Traffic police has been given only 3 functions. One is the regulation of traffic on road, then enforcement of traffic laws, and thirdly, road safety, that is investigation and prevention of road accidents. These are the 3 basic things. Whereas traffic management is a very, very big generic term, which involves basically traffic engineering and road design, layout design, town planning. So these are the major stakeholders, I can say, as far as traffic management is concerned. Only the regulation part and the enforcement part is with the traffic police. Now coming to the problem, because Mr. Ravi has told me to tell me what are the few things we have done in the last few weeks. But before that, I would say that traffic. Why is this traffic problem in Bangalore city? Why we have problems? Why so much delay in journey, and why it is taking so much time for people to travel from one place to another place? Basically, there are 2 problems we have got. One is the capacity problem. That is, volume of traffic is higher than the capacity, road capacity or the road infrastructure. That way, the number of vehicles on road, you might have seen while commuting also, that the number of vehicles on the road is too heavy, and the capacity of the road is very little. Secondly, we don't have, I can say, adequate or public transport, or I can say there is a slow growth in public transport. Because generally, cities, particularly western cities, if you see, most of the cities have good public transport. That is why traffic problems are relatively less. For example, city like London, where almost 90% people travel in tube only. And only 10% we can see on road people will be traveling. Similarly, such things are not prevalent in Bangalore or any arterial type of city or a circular city. Only city in India which has a good public transport model share is Mumbai. It is almost 82% of the people travel in public transport, either in the commuter train or through BA-based buses. So that is why the reason why number of vehicles also in Mumbai is very less. But here in Bangalore, number of vehicles registered is 1 crore 7 lakh vehicles for 1.3 crore population. That is almost 100 vehicles for 130 people. That is the ratio what we have got today in Bangalore city. So that is the reason why the congestion is there. Now, there is one capacity is, I can say, the road network is limited. It cannot be widened, or you cannot have flyovers or grade separators overnight. It is not possible. Only thing what we can do is only to see the supply side, the volume of traffic. Can we reduce that volume? That is the only way. If you can reduce the volume of traffic, then I think optimum level you can reach. And the volume of vehicles, if it matches the capacity of road, then there won't be any much congestion on roads. That is the reason why now we don't bother too much about now capacity, increasing the capacity or widening of roads, or recommending that one flyover should be built or some grade separator should be. We are not doing that now. What we are focusing is on supply side, how to reduce the traffic. That is the main focus now. That is the reason why now, first thing what we did was that we have, anyhow the ban is there, the heavy goods vehicle or the heavy truck vehicle is banned in city during peak hours. Morning and evening peak hours it is banned. But generally it is not implemented properly. Now we are focusing on that. We are ensuring that 100% we should ban. 100% we should ban. So
typically, which are the hours in which this is not allowed?
No, morning 8 to 11 in the morning, and evening between 5 to 8. But we start little early only now. 7:30 itself we are starting now, and 4:30 itself in the evening peak hours we are starting. And sometimes if the traffic is heavy and still there is a thick red lines on Google Maps, then we extended it up 9 o'clock also now, so that people who are coming to office in the morning and going back home should go smoothly. I can say rather little easier compared to the earlier days. That is one aspect we have done now. The second thing is in particular stretches of road where congestion is huge, because generally central area of the city there is not much congestion, there is not much problem, because central area most of the roads are one-way roads, and most of the signal lights are two-phase signal lights. So you will not be taking much time in traveling in the city CBD area, because these one-ways have been done almost more than a decade back.
No, I must come in here. One of the nicknames that he had in his past avatar in this post was one-way Saleem. If I remember right, I think 128 roads were made one way. And very quickly, there's a genesis. There are original, OG as they call it, original gangsters in this one-way business. It started during the BATF time. There were actually 3 citizens who stood at 106 junctions over 6 months and came up with a comprehensive one-way plan for Bangalore. That was really the genesis. Then we had an expert look at it, and subsequently then Ajay Kumar Singh and M.N. Reddy were there. That was the original genesis. And the first road that was made one way, I still remember, was that the Hudson Circle, the Kantirwa Stadium flyover, that area. At that time, the city was planning 100 crore flyover near the Corporation Junction, which this one-way effectively killed and solved. And of course, from there, it took a lot of steam. So, but I would actually now say that his initials, as we'll see as we talk further, M.A. Saleem would now stand for many a way Saleem, because now he's gone beyond one way to multiple ways to fix the city. Back to you. So you mentioned one. Clearly is the cargo vehicles. So the second you really you were elaborating when I came in.
Where actually is the problem? Now we have identified about 10 areas or 10 junctions, I can say, which are not in the CBD area basically. They are little outside compared to the CBD. Like say for example Hebbal flyover, or Yeshwantpura beyond, that is Gargunte Palya on Tumkur Road. Then this side, Silk Boat Junction, then Iblur flyover, then this Kerpuram Muttimaremma temple side. Then we have the problem at JD Mara and Banarata Road. Then problem at KS Layout, then Banshankari Temple Junction. So these 10 junctions we identified where actually there is a huge problem. And if we can fix in these junctions, and if we can ease out to some extent in these junctions, then I think from then onwards travel time may be reduced. For example, Hebbal flyover, for example, it was taking about 20 to 25 minutes to cross that junction in the morning peak hours, especially morning because traffic was coming, not only the airport traffic, but also all the areas beyond Hebbal, that is Elanka, Sampigihalli, Kodigihalli, and even Chikjala and other places. Entire traffic comes in the morning. So then we thought that we should reduce traffic, because now the total traffic coming is from 8 lanes actually, 8-lane traffic, and it has to pass through only the 2-lane flyover, which is, I think, is very impossible, I can say, but difficult also to a large extent. But still, people have to spend a lot of time there, waiting for their turn to go into the flyover. So actually, first thing what we did was the loop system. We segregated the main traffic, that is traffic coming from the airport side, that is on the main ramp, and traffic coming from the side roads. So that was segregated first. And then what we did was, we could observe that 20 to 25% of that traffic is basically goods vehicle, not the heavy goods vehicle, but medium and the small goods vehicles, like small LCVs, we call as light commercial vehicles. Then we thought that we can not permit them here in the morning peak hours. So we removed 25% of traffic from there in the morning peak hours. And that though we did not stop them, but we have given them alternate roads, that they can take the alternative roads, that is through Bangalore and other places, and they can come inside the city. So that way, 25% reduction in traffic has made a difference, I can say. Now the time has come down to almost 10 minutes now. The waiting time or the total time taken there now is about 10 minutes now, 8 to 10 minutes it is. So that way, considerably it has reduced. But once you cross, then you come down to the city without any signal to the city center. The next junction or the next signal light you will get only at Windsor Manor Junction only. And that too, for straight traffic, that is also not there. And only at the old high ground police station you will get the signal. That means you have already reached the city center. So that way, things are a little better. Similarly, in Gargunte Palya also, though through presence of adequate policemen, now we are making it that the incoming traffic is coming a little faster. Outgoing also, we are going to make it more faster once we convert one road, which I am not going to tell which road. One road we are going to make it one way. Okay, so
the one way will not leave you ever.
Yeah, so that way we want to reduce the junction conflict at CMTI from 3-phase to 2-phase. If we can convert into 2-phase, then we can push the traffic much faster. And then the traffic below the elevated road, we are making it synchronized signal lights now, totally synchronized up to 8th mile for outgoing traffic only. That will definitely help the commuters. So similarly, such small intervention in other places also is helping us, but only to some extent. But the third most important thing was the prioritization of traffic regulation. Because generally, since traffic police does both enforcement and as well as regulation, we thought that let's change our priority from enforcement to regulation. That is, from booking of cases at the junctions or at the roads or other places, let's ensure that all traffic policemen will regulate the traffic quickly, so that traffic can move quickly. We can use technology for booking of cases. So that is why ITMS we just introduced last week. Honorable Chief Minister inaugurated the ITMS, through which we are going to book a lot of cases now, automatically through our ANPR and other cameras which we have already installed now. So that way, our focus now is shifted from enforcement to regulation. That will definitely help at least to mitigate some situation by about 20% or 25%. Beyond that, I think it is engineering solution which needs to be done.
So I'll come to that. So just to summarize again, so basically we are looking at about 4 interventions broadly. So the first one regarding was cargo vehicles off-peak hour. Second one was a focus on specific junctions which are really causing the bottleneck. And I think one of the junctions is also called Hope Farm. I think hope is the word out here. So there's a whole junction. The emphasis on using the traffic police to regulate rather than enforce, and using technology to enforce. I think broadly, these would be the kind of, and working within the existing constraints, because overnight, as you rightly mentioned. The key thing, and I don't know, I want a show of hands, how many of you feel that things have got marginally better over the last 2-3 weeks? I see almost about 60% of the hands going up. I know this improvement is always a function of which part of the city you live in and what's the experience out here. You will get an occasion later to see why your part of the city hasn't seen the same level of improvement. But there is at the heart, and that's really the premise of today's thing, to try and understand that if we could get some gains through some interventions with the current limitation, are these sustainable? Is it the work of just one officer coming up with these ideas? As an institution, how can we keep this whole thing sustainable? So Saleem Sahab, the thing I'd like to go is actually ask you a very, I know you mentioned it in terms of regulation, enforcement, and safety, and all government projects tend to be in terms of rupees of crore spending. All government projects are in silos of government with different responsibilities, but what we as citizens want is outcomes. We want an outcome. So if I have to see in the area of traffic, I have a certain outcome that I think might be worth shooting for. What would you say is a desirable outcome that we should shoot for in the area of traffic improvements and the traffic space? What should be an outcome that citizens are right to expect, and what the system needs to deliver? Part of it is in the traffic police's hands, and part of it is in other departments. I mean, maybe a big part of it is in other department. What would that outcome look like?
Well, I am always a great supporter of public transport. The outcome should be good, robust, and very, very economical public transport for citizens. If it happens, like now the work is going on now, the metro phase 2, 2A, 2B, phase 3, if all they are in place, and also the commuter rail system, that is this suburban rail, which is also now work is going on. If these things are completed, and if BMTC could add a few more thousand buses, then I think we can have a good public transport network, which will definitely go a long way in deterring the citizens from using their own personal vehicles. And if they are getting a good public transport, which is very, very economical, very quick, then definitely anybody will switch over to public transport. So that is what is the outcome, which is the ideal outcome, I can say, ideal outcome for the city. And automatically traffic problem will be solved to a large extent, I can say. What we can try to do right now is only marginal improvements only. But a very significant and very substantial improvement will be there once the good public transport or robust public transport system is in place. Now coming to traffic police, only thing now what we have to do is to sustain this focus on regulation. We have to sustain this focus on regulation. For that, a few things are required to be done, particularly in the enforcement arena, wherein now we have a very ambitious plan now for this is booking of cases. This is booking of cases through technology, and using most of our manpower for regulation. So that is the focus now, and which we have to sustain it. To sustain that, also there are two important challenges we have got. One is the cases which you are now booking. In fact, we have started booking about 30,000 cases per day through online. That is through challans only. Through online challans, we are sending online, as well as even the physical challans are also going. But the only thing is people many times ignore those notices, those challans. Now the biggest challenge now for us is to ensure compliance to those notices or those challans. So if we have got two strategies there. If we can succeed in both this thing, then definitely we can forever we can switch off the manual mode of enforcement to a large extent. except for say drunken driving, and where some checks have to be done, like dangerous driving, somebody is doing wheeling or drag racing or something, where we have to intervene, or some blatant traffic violations if somebody is doing right in front of traffic police officers, then one has to flag that vehicle. But ideal situation is to ensure that we book cases through our camera system and also through automated chalaning system, and ensure that the citizens also do comply with those notices, and they should accept their mistakes and pay up the fines. Though fine collection is not our priority here, but at the same time there should be some deterrence, because if you don't penalize a erring driver, a person who is on the wrong, then there won't be any motivation for the law-abiding citizen. There won't be any motivation. See, for example, two people are going. If one person jumps signal light and goes, another person is just standing there at the signal light, waiting for the green signal, then what motivation he will have? Because if the other person is just happily without any remorse or repercussions, if he is going away, then after some time that fellow also will lose motivation. He will also start doing the same thing. So it is very important that we should penalize, we should punish the wrongdoer. For
but
that, some mechanism have to be there.
You're using technology also for that. You're also using technology to penalize.
And now we have gone for two important remedies for that. Number one is all these low board vehicles, they need fitness certification every year. So now we are tying up with Transport Department. In fact, we had a meeting just a couple of days back to take the cooperation of Transport Department to see that all the vehicles which are coming for the fitness certification should pay up all their pending fines or pending challans should be disposed of before the vehicle is taken for fitness certification. So if it happens, then almost 100% compliance we can have as far as the transport vehicles are concerned. Secondly, for other vehicles, every year there is an insurance. Every year they have to renew their insurance. So with insurance companies, we want to take this matter in such a way that all fines have to be paid before the insurance policy is renewed. So if these two things can happen, then we will have 100% compliance also, and that I think that may suffice to a large extent our decision to focus on give more focus for traffic regulation.
So Saleem Saab, actually, I'm also, there are two hats that I can't get away from. One, I've been a management consultant for over 40 years, so I will be bringing some abstract management stuff into this discussion. And second, I'm also going to use this privileged position of talking to you to keep suggesting some possible out-of-box ideas to consider. So I'll come to the outcome part the way I have phrased it later, but first I want to take your technology intervention. So you mentioned 2 points. One is using the insurance company and the other in fitness certificate. The science of behavioral science now, which is now the latest thing, and there are some 7 or 8 Nobel Prize winners there. I think we need to draw on behavioral science to figure out how do we, incentivize good behavior, and more importantly also penalize the people who need to be penalized. My hypothesis, and I could be wrong, is the penalty needs to come very, very close to the event. Today it's going into a system. The next time you get caught, I'm paying 6 months later. I don't even remember what I did. Food for thought in the technology front. Why not use the FASTag system to debit from the FASTag within 5 minutes of the offense happening? Because it will mean sudden intervention in terms of setting it up, but if the FASTag can debit me for going through the carrier, every time I make this offense caught by technology, debit my FASTag to the extent that I will be actually at the airport booth with not enough money in my FASTag for me to realize. So that's one point to think. Because behavioral science says that unless you have the cause and effect correlation quite close to each other, often it doesn't hurt. Second, you're seeing the insurance company as someone who can collect past dues. I'm suggesting something else. Share the information of the violators with the insurance companies, call a consortium of insurance companies, and ask them to increase the premium for people with violation. Because there has to be after all, insurance companies want to assess risk. A guy who violates is more likely to have an accident, and consequently they'll have to pay out insurance. So there is a case to pay a higher premium if you do that. What this will require conceptually from a government perspective, is to be ready for open data and data sharing in a manner that works towards aligning the objectives. So, two suggestions out there. And linked to that, I have a related question coming to and a lot of your offenses are at the signals. I think you have 50 signals thing. Can we have a problem? Where does pedestrian come in your overall line of thinking? I mean, you already said public transport, which is great. Who do you think is the primary customer on our roads? Who's the primary customer?
Of course, pedestrian is the primary person, and also right of way. He has the right of way. The first
he or she has the right of way.
I think the first preference is given to the pedestrian, and I'm very happy now. Bangalore city roads are quite good now. In fact, if you see the central,
city center, maybe the
city CBD area roads. Particularly the earlier times, if you see the photographs of same roads earlier, they were not so pedestrian friendly. But today, by and large, the roads are quite good. In the central area, I can tell you wherever this, first it was the tender show roads and subsequently the smart cities roads. All these roads are coming up very well with good pedestrian facilities. So, though many roads are there, particularly arterial roads are there which needs to be fixed, and pedestrian facilities are not available in most of the roads. But reasonably,
start has been made.
Yeah, it is quite good.
So coming to that, if you're going to penalize using technology, can you as the traffic police insist at all these junctions that there would be clear-cut pedestrian crossing markings at all these signals, and use technology for any vehicle that is parked on that signal, when the signal is red, they get challaned also?
Yeah, now it is happening. But see, the problem again was same thing what I was repeating, that people getting challans and not paying, and also even if they are paying after 6 months they are paying. That what you have rightly mentioned, that sting is not there. Now we had that one system there. Any traffic officers having one system in his hand. It's called handheld device. If he just puts the number there, all the previous violations and other things come. Generally, we used to do that. In fact, we have some camera system where we just keep the camera at the signal, and whenever a vehicle comes, his previous notices, challans are depicted, are they shown there. And our people used to flag that. 3-4 people used to get that vehicle, and they used to collect the fine. But for general people or general public, it appeared that traffic police is somehow harassing, because the fellow was not doing anything wrong, no visible violation, but the fellow has been caught and unnecessarily it is being harassed. So somehow that mindset has come. That is why we want to remove that also, so that we don't want to just flag that vehicle there itself. Maybe we may go for some innovative ideas. That idea should come from the citizens also. That we may go to parking lots or parking areas where, particularly in malls and other places where vehicles are parked, we can flag all those vehicles there which have violations pending against them.
and sir, I again repeat, crack the technology to take the money from the FASTag.
No, that is again, it is, I can say right now, thinking of that is, I can say wishful thinking only. Because
that's a different agency, I know how it works.
Different agency, different things, and many
But
times,
in the world of UPI and the interconnectedness and interoperativeness, I think this is an easy problem to fix.
And also another problem, I tell you, sir, even if we share our UPI to others, there's fraudulent things are so much now. Many people, they pose and they collect fines on our behalf. Okay, that also happens. So that is why we have to keep those things secret only. We can't share cannot share our data to anybody, in fact. And also another thing is, why make so much easy for the offender or the traffic violator? Why should we make so easy that he pays the fine through online or through this thing? He should come to the court and pay the fine. That should be the deterrence. In many of the places, particularly Canada, I have seen, they don't collect fine anywhere. Okay, the fellow has to go and pay the fine.
But the court notice needs to reach them very quickly for them to.
But only thing is, we have to go for certain mechanism that there should be some deterrence. It's not so easy. A person who violates just jumps traffic signal light, jeoparding the safety of so many road users, and he just goes at home and then pays online 500 rupees. I think it may not be very, I can say, it is easy going, I can say. I think we should go for certain new mechanisms. Though I have these two things, what I have mentioned, the insurance companies and the transport department thing, is all for pending things. But for some quick this thing, there has to be some new mechanism we have to think of.
And I'm in favor of a mix of methods. In fact, Bombay, for drunken driving for 2 months, they tried this experiment that those who were caught, they were put in the lockup for a day. They became sober overnight. So maybe there's a lesson out there in terms of what you're saying out there. Coming back to this pedestrian and the outcome, the way I see the outcome, and that's where I want to lead to the next segment of the discussion. And before we go there, there's a disclaimer I'd like to make. You know, everything that you see about city life, and it's true of most things, whether city, state, center, everything requires, there's an interconnectedness of many government departments to deliver what you want. So in the context of traffic improvements, BBMP, BDA, the BESCOM, BWSSB at one level, BMRCL, BMTC, all of them have a role to play. The RTO has a role to play. So I'm making a disclaimer that there is a role to be played by many other departments, and the code, we have not yet cracked the code on how to bang those heads together to get the outcome. That's a separate exercise and not part of today's thing. We will mention areas that lie elsewhere for BBMP or somebody else to do, but we will pass on and focus more on what is in the hands of the traffic, because that is what Dr. Saleem can answer for. So while we will recognize the interconnected nature, we will not wring our hands too much beyond that as we go forward in the discussion. So coming to the outcome, the way I see it, is a desirable outcome on mobility or traffic or whatever you want to call it, is really an improved traffic flow with increased safety. To me, if I have to get a one-line definition, it has elements that if it took me 25 minutes yesterday, can I get that same distance done in 20 minutes? So that's the improvement. And if yesterday 2 people died, can it be 1 today and 0 tomorrow? The safety element. And you know that very well. Incidentally, he was also the author of the Safe Route to Schools. We will come to that later. So if I say there's a dimension of an improvement on flow and an improvement in, decrease in fatalities and accidents and injuries, if I say that's my goal, clearly what you mentioned is important. That shifting to public transport modes will definitely help us in that direction, and also to the matter about pedestrian. So I want to take under flow, I have listed actually 8 or 9 things which impede flow, and I'd like your reaction to those 8 or 9. The first principle, and you're a doctorate in traffic management, is we require uniform lane widths. And it is granted that a 3-lane shrinking to a 2-lane, 2-lane becoming 1 lane is a problem. You would agree with that?
Yeah, of course. I have a classic example if I want to give. Is if you are driving to airport from, say, Windsor Manor, right up to Hebbard flyover, you can see how road becomes first 3-lane, then 2-lane, then the BDA flyover, that small, this thing is there, it's 2-lane again. Then you get down 3-lane again, then Kaveri Junction, again 2-lane. Again, you go up to Makeri Circle, it is 2-lane only. Again, it becomes 3-lane below the Makeri Circle flyover. Then in front of HQTC main gate, again it becomes 2-lane. Then afterwards, it is 3-lane. It goes on till the mouth of the flyover, where there is a segregation, 2-lane for the main traffic and only 1 lane for traffic going to Tumkur and traffic going to KR-Puram. There, 1 lane, is everybody tries to haggle that, and they block the other lane also. The straight lane also they block. So that's how the traffic moves. So that is the reason why we see so much congestion. If you have only 2 lanes, enough 2 lanes, right from say old high ground police station junction, right up to say Hebbard flyover, if it is only 2 lane, traffic will move very smoothly, easily without any problems. But because it has become 3-lane, 2-lane, again 3-lane, 2-lane, that way, because of lack of synchronization, or symmetry is not there, road symmetry is not there, then I think one of the good thing that happened in because of the City Connect and also this smart city roads now is that at least the road width is maintained uniformly now from the beginning till the end. So that way things are better. But to fix these major arteries or the major arterial roads is a challenge.
So the key thing, takeaway then, we're going to move on, is actually if you approach the problem of having uniform lane width end to end in each stretch, itself it's more than half the problem solved, but it's beyond their remit and beyond our collective pay grade. And the heart of the tender show really was the primary customer is the pedestrian, therefore footpath, and lanes will be uniform lane width of 3.3 meters. And that was really the basic principle which we need to expand across the city. The second one really is, and this is something, again, maybe the BBMP has to do it, but whether you could push it. You know, we like this alphabet soup, and so I call this the PS0. You know, PS1 did very well as a movie. So the PS0 in my head, or you could call it the PS100, anybody can guess what the PS could stand for? Nope. So basically, to improve flow, if we had a focus program to fix potholes in and around signals for 100 meters in every direction from the signal, so what I call either the PS0 or the PS100, depending on which one you want as a trigger, what it will do to flow is when signal changes, where 15 vehicles can go through, today only about 7 or 8 are going through because of the condition of the road. When I say pothole, I say I include it for road which is not properly tarred also. Do you believe that as an improvement of flow, we keep talking about fixing thousands of potholes. If we took potholes and roads around junctions, 100 meters, do you think that will improve flow or not?
Of course, I think any layman will say that it will
but then
definitely improve.
We are not doing it.
Of course, BBMP is now doing, I think, last 6 months, I was told 4,500 potholes have been filled. Right now, in the FMS, that is Fix My Street app, 1,137 potholes are remaining, which we have given, the traffic police have given them. There's 1137 are pending. But I see some roads, like for example, a big area road is there. When there's only one road itself, there are 1,000 potholes are there. Okay.
And also it goes into the definition of what is a pothole. I mean, that itself is debatable. But that said, my limited point really is, if I want to improve flow, evacuating through traffic signals is a worthwhile objective. And can we prioritize pothole filling so that we take up those junctions before the others, was my limited point out there. The next one is the road obstructions that come. I mean, there are all kinds of obstructions that come. And there are also statues and other things which have suddenly one projecting thing, which I think in the Mint Square, you cleaned up one particular projection, and that automatically improved the flow. So these road obstructions as another objective, like you gave this list of 1137 potholes, is there a case to look at road obstructions that are coming up of these kinds, which are really built and in mortar, etc., and say, could we improve this design so that the flow around it is better?
Well, last 1 month we have done a survey of all the roads in Bangalore city. We have identified all these obstructions where construction material is dumped, where wastage has been dumped, where manholes are open, where there is need for asphalting the entire stretch of the road, and where street lighting is required, where high mast lights are required, where road has been dug up and work has stopped, not continuing, where the asphalting work is slow, where the even concrete work, that is white topping, is also slow. Such entire thing we have made a survey, and we have given the entire thing to different agencies. It is not only
Why
BBMP.
don't you put it in the public domain as information? On a map. Why are we shying away? Why are we shying away from being more public about it? Because who's getting cursed? Not them, you. The traffic department is held for the traffic thing, is always traffic department. You have nothing to lose. You're not doing anything. You're not calling anybody's name, but you're putting it out on a GIS map, area by area, that these are the kind of things noted. As they go away, it goes away from your map also.
Well,
Why not?
Well,
Why are we doing this in an opaque manner?
No, well, we have some newspapers have carried that entire list.
No, not newspaper.
Yeah,
I am talking about a website where you're posting this pothole information and thing as public service. On Google Maps. I know. I'm talking about Google Maps. Sorry, 1 second. We'll come to the thing later.
Well, I think we will think of that because we have this huge document for 500 pages are there. We'll definitely do that with
I'm
photographs.
happy to help.
With photographs.
I'm happy to, you give the information. I'm happy to put it out as shareware information in this thing. This is an offer. I just feel that the journey to a better city is a little more transparency where everybody can pitch in. We'll come later to crowdsourcing this also, but that is a matter of this thing. Moving on, road humps. Again, on reducing the flow, because I'm still on the subject of flow. I'm really taking it by. So, on road humps, hypothesis, a road hump appears wherever an accident happens. Immediately the local people come, put a road hump. We have unscientific road humps, all kinds, all shapes, backbreaking, all the stuff. Question for you is, I'm not anti-road hump. Maybe there are cases, but maybe half the road humps can go. So can we think about traffic initiating a project along with BBMP, etc., to do 2-3 things? Remove the road humps that are not required because that'll improve flow straight away. And the ones that are there, we standardize them either as rumble strips or that slight incline and this thing. Can we do that as a matter of rule? Maybe all pedestrian crossings can be that hump so that automatically they slow down there. But of course, it might reduce the speed when people go forward, so there's a problem there. So the question for you really is, on road humps, what's the way forward and what's a way by which we can fix it? Because it is clearly impeding flow.
Quite true. Actually, Indian Road Congress, they have given that the proper specification for how the road hump should be, and also where it should be. Basically, we recommend installation of road hump on a crossroad which joins a main road. Just before it joins the main road, we want the crossroad traffic or the smaller road traffic to slow down and then join the main road, that is main arterial road or any sub-arterial road. That is where humps are required, because otherwise what happens, a person coming from a smaller road, if he comes very fast and joins the main road where traffic is little faster, then there will be chance of accidents are there. So there we recommend that good IRC standard with 100% specification, the road hump has to be installed. But unfortunately what happens many places, because of the local people or the local, because of some this thing, people themselves put the road humps. So that many times we may not be knowing also, and maybe even the agency, the BBMP or BD or any other road agency may not be knowing that suddenly one road hump has come up. So that way we generally what we do is we identify such road humps, and if we feel that yes, there is need for a road hump there, we ask the BBMP to rectify it or make that unscientific road hump into a proper scientifically designed road hump. So like that we generally have good coordination with the BBMP. We have in fact 427 locations we have already given very recently. 427 locations where it is totally unscientific road hump have come up, and that needs to be converted into a properly designed, I can say, scientific road hump. So that already BBMP has started work on that to convert that into a proper road hump. I think it may take little time, but it's going to happen.
I would suggest go back onto the JS map. So some road humps need to go. The rest needs to become more scientific. I think it will improve flow, and I think we are agreed on that in principle. Then another thing really is, the drop-off points during the school timings, etc., or suddenly vehicles stopping to drop off something, or a bus stopping way off from the signal, is another thing that impedes flow. So is there a way by which we can have designated across roads, have a project which really say that this is the drop-off point, and that's the place where you have a little more land available, and you give a little bit of a thing so that the main lane traffic can still go on while the person has gone a little bit to the side. Is there some innovative ways to think about it? Because every one of us has experience of just standing behind somebody who's either dropping off or the bus is not at the bus stop and whatever. It's part of everyday life. Is there a way to think about drop off and pick up and use additional spaces in the road length in a smart way, not to create them as a parking space, but as a drop off space?
Well, I think...
And this includes the metro stations
right of way in most of the roads are not available for such maneuvering or creating a drop-off base. It is not possible. For example, just take this road itself, the old airport road. After the command hospital, it is a 2-lane road all along. You can't have any, in fact, in Bengaluru, only small footpath is available, then you have all these private establishments. So it may not be possible even to create one bay also. It is very difficult. The major problem why we are facing this is because of the mixed land use. We have a mixed land use system. If you have segregated residential areas, segregated commercial areas, then this problem would not have been there. There was no need for anybody to drop off or this thing. But since we have mixed land use everywhere in the city, so this problem is there. And the only thing is, since BMRCL is acquiring land in such a huge way, they can create for the drop-off zones whenever now the new stations, wherever they are coming. In fact, they are acquiring so much land for the construction of stations as well as the metro lines. They can take little more land and create either parking spaces or drop-off spaces, or provide some spaces for other public transport vehicles like buses or taxis and auto rickshaws. So that is possible only in the new corridors of BMRCL.
Though, of course, mixed land use also has its plus points, has its own charm. So it's a question of being able to provide for the infrastructure while, and clearly, as part of the multiple agencies, the master plan, the land use, and urban form is another important thing. The last thing on flow, at nights, we find signals are still on the old cycle, and those who are law-abiding are actually finding they're staying a lot longer, even though the traffic has reduced. Is there some dynamic way to fix that, or you get into the blinking light, amber light kind of stuff? Because there are quite a few areas where the old signal times are still there, and law-abiding people do wait, and that's good. But there are, of course, some who jump. Can we synchronize it with what is the nature of the demand at that time?
Well, we have in our automated signal lights, we have these 3 timings, separate timings in different times of the days. For example, peak hour time is separate and non-peak hour time is separate, and the night time is separate. Night time we give maximum time is about 20 seconds only for each road. So that is how these have been designed. But anyhow, these signal lights are archaic signal lights now. They are being phased out now, and we are going to have the adaptive signal lights very soon. In fact, the first phase we are commencing in another 3-4 months' time, wherein there won't be any timer or anything, and the signals should be based on the artificial intelligence. They will capture how much traffic is there in each road and accordingly change the timings.
Just a question about this adaptive thing. So does it visually see the depth of traffic on that particular road, or does it take a larger network view? Because there are enough studies which says the network is the problem, the network is the solution. The moment the reason we are seeing a gain today is, though I see a gain here, the gain has actually come because of an intervention 3 kilometers away. So unless you take a network view to synchronize some of these light changes, it could still be...
well, we are going for corridor system now. Each system will have all signals in that particular corridor. Say, for example, Tumkur Road. All signals of Tumkur Road is a single corridor. Earlier, there was some experiments with Scoots technology as well as CATs also, where 40-50 signal lights were given one single controller. That did not work in Indian conditions. Maybe it works very well in Western cities, but not in Indian condition where I can say junctions are very close by. Number one. Number two, there is mixed traffic. In fact, we have almost 28 different type of vehicles moving on the road. So that is why it is very difficult to manage with those technologies. Now what we have gone is, instead of going for a coordinated signaling system for a large number of signals, we are going for only small corridors. Say 7, 8, maximum 10 signal lights only in that particular corridor, so that only we can have synchronization only for that corridor only, not for large number of signals.
One of the things that, now moving on to technology, I'm done with flow for now. Moving on to technology, we did speak about some of the earlier technology uses that you have got at the 50 junctions. You know, these buses being parked just after a signal crossing, etc., are common complaints. Is it possible to visualize these buses fitted with GPS that actually an alarm goes off of a large volume if it is within 100 meters from a signal? Literally, it is basically, there's a racket created if it even dares to park just after the signal, which is often done. Something which basically names and shames or whatever, some other manner by which you insist they need to have that equipment by which you're able to track their distance from the signal and they have stopped at the wrong place. Again, use technology to nudge those fellows a bit more forward.
Well, one of the strategies we are doing for the last few weeks is pushing the bus stops away 100 meters either behind or after the signal light. And also we are taking up with BMTC to stop that incentive scheme. There is in BMTC there is something called as incentive scheme where the 1% for the conductor and 1% to the driver is given if the revenues are more. So that is why what happens, even if a person gives hand, they just stop. Even in the middle of the road also they stop and pick up the passengers. So if that incentive scheme is not linked to the total revenue collected, instead of that some other way monetary consideration, some money is given separately. I think that earlier, because when I was going to college, I knew that buses were never stopping anywhere except bus stop. Even if 10 people are standing also, he will not stop. He will stop only at the bus stop because he was not gaining anything by taking those 10 people.
Right.
So that is the reason earlier the buses were very disciplined, I can say. And they were closing the door also, nobody can open also. And also even at that time, even the crew are also very tough at that time. But now things are totally different, and now because of the incentive system, they stop everywhere.
I'll give a counter incentive system. BMTC may not accept it, but suppose at the back of the bus, there's a number to which I can send an SMS or a WhatsApp. Tell me how I am driving. You typically have a number. And drivers against whom there are no complaints during the course of the year, give them a bonus. So basically, anybody on the road can complain about a specific complaint. He was parked here or he was driving rashly or whatever. And reward those bus drivers against whom there is no message from the citizenry at large. It's another way to incentivize them for proper behavior over this percentage of revenue. I know it's not your remit, it's BMTC, I suggested this 10 years ago, it went nowhere, which is why I call myself patron saint of lost causes. But whenever I get a chance, I plug it in again. Ambulances, last word here on the technology. Do we currently have any equivalent of the GPS for the bus that I said, where if an ambulance with a signal on, which means there's a real crisis, there's a way for them to alert that this is where it is in the traffic network so that it can sync up with your AI and other stuff to be able to get them a little faster passage?
No, right now it is done manually. And since we have got a separate desk in our traffic management center for ambulances, the representative from the 108 ambulance, they are there in our traffic management center itself. And he is monitoring all the ambulances running in the city. So from TMC itself, alerts are given that ambulance is coming from this side or this direction, and freeway is given. And now even citizens also, they are giving way, and absolutely there is no problem as such as far as Bangalore city is concerned. In fact, even green corridors also are done very successfully nowadays. So as far as ambulances are concerned,
I still think that because we are so getting tech enabled, I think tech will help there. And we got to keep on taking the larger spider network kind of view as opposed to just the local.
But only thing is, if the ambulances are fitted with the GPS devices, kind of, then I think it will be much easier for us. Yeah, exactly. But the problem right now is 108 ambulances only we have this facility. There are so many private hospital ambulances are there which are not in the network. So if they also come in with the same network, I think that will help.
Moving on next to the wisdom of the crowds. I know you're a great believer in citizen participation, ideas. I think you had the Public Eye initiative in your last stint and the like. So what's been your experience about, because nothing can beat tribal knowledge, the local and the people out there. So what initiatives do you have to tap into that and maybe some of your decision making is based on that tribal wisdom?
You are quite true, because traffic is one area where citizens come into contact with the police very often. In fact, every type of citizen, whether he is a pedestrian or a cyclist or a bus passenger or a car user or a two-wheeler user, he comes into contact with traffic police. So that is why we tap that citizens' potential in a very big way. In fact, we have a few schemes, particularly the first one is the traffic warden organization, wherein the citizen volunteer for 16 hours assistance to traffic police in the form of regulating traffic. 16 hours in a month they come and they help us. There are volunteers. In fact, now there is a large number. In fact, we have almost 600 traffic wardens, active traffic wardens in the city, plus 200 after our appeal last month. Now another 200 have come forward, and we have trained them also, and they are going to be inducted very soon in another week's time. And secondly, the citizens forum meetings. We have every second Saturday citizen forum meetings regularly, and that helps in getting ideas. For example, Hope Farm you are talking about. We had actually some meeting at the Hope Farm junction itself, that how we can decongest. And a lot of citizens had come and they were giving a lot of information. One of the suggestion was, this is a 4-phase junction. Can we reduce it to 3-phase? Then we thought, no, it's a good idea. Then we could be able to do that. In fact, there are 2 roads, connecting roads, which are little away from the main junction. Then let's use those roads and make this signal as a 3-phase signal by removing 2 right turns. In fact, removal of right turns, removal of left turns or U-turns, this is one of the traffic regulatory strategy we have. This is the first line of strategy I call, because we have 7-8 I can say strategies to decongest any particular area. The first one is this one, remove right turn, remove U-turn, then traffic flow can be improved to some extent. That is one of the first strategy. So similarly, ideas come, because we have got 7-8 different type of strategies, like one-way system is one strategy, then closing side street is another strategy, then gating the traffic, because making the traffic come slower to some area is another strategy we have got. And then we have a strategy of tidal flow, where if the traffic coming in from the morning to a particular area is heavier, and if it is reverse in the evening, then we call it as a tidal flow operations. So like that we have got
you may even open an extra lane to handle that.
That's what is called tidal flow, where we give 1 lane extra. Like for example, Mumbai, for example, if you see from north to south, 1 lane extra they give, and evening they give 1 lane extra for the outgoing traffic. So that is called tidal flow operations. Similarly, traffic gating is another, peak hour management is another, then banning a certain type of vehicles is another. These are different strategies we have got to reduce traffic congestion in a particular area, which now we are doing. In fact, last 3-4 weeks we have been doing this, and these come from only suggestions from the citizens, that okay, in this area this problem is there. For example, some areas it is very difficult, like Harloor Road, for example. If somebody is there from Harloor Road, it is such a difficult road. It is a village road basically, only 2 lane. And right now we are asking people to give some strategy, some suggestion, but nothing is coming forward. Nobody can give any suggestion for that road. Like that, for every area we get suggestions in the citizen forum. And third and most important thing is the industries. Like Orca, for example, or the LCTA in Electronic City, they give us some manpower in the form of security guards, whom we train, and we call them as traffic marshals. We use them in our traffic regulatory works. In fact, we have got more than 150 traffic marshals today working in most of the congested areas. And similarly, we have the public eye, which is very popular now, wherein people, they take video clips and also some photographs also, and they send it to us for issuing tickets for the violation of traffic rules. So this involvement of citizens definitely will help to a large extent in getting good cooperation from the citizens, particularly where we take certain measures. Like for example, today morning in Mutyal Nagara near BEL, after BEL circle, towards MES road, there is a flyover, you may be knowing, an outer ring road. There is one opening there. We want to close that opening. Okay, now earlier also 2 attempts were made to close, but a lot of opposition, a lot of dharna, everything happened, and it has to be reverted back. But today again, there was a meeting today there itself. All the citizens groups were called today, and they were explained what is the problem, how the outgoing traffic towards Tumkur is getting stuck because of that one opening there in the road. So explaining to them, so because since we have, these citizens are in constant touch with us in the traffic forum meetings, explaining to them is much easier. So now I think Most probably, I can say we are going to close that now because already we have got some 50% approval. The remaining 50% also we may be able to get.
Bangalore is a city with citizens come forward. The resident welfare associations are very strong. Whitefield Rising. You mentioned the industry C4C, the Bangalore Environment Trust. There's so many people who have also sent me notes ahead of this meeting saying that these are the suggestions they've given. Moving on, because we have just another 5-10 minutes before I throw it open. My next section is really penalties and disincentives. Some penalties we have spoken about, some we haven't. 1, two-wheelers driving on footpath. My point really is, if I saw a person with a gun, I would think he wants to kill me. Or the knife, visible knife that he wants to rob me. To me, a two-wheeler on a footpath is driving with an intention to maim or kill. Under that section, why don't go under traffic sections. Go under sections of intention to kill or maim as the intention, because you always look for a law under which you can book him. I am saying book the two-wheelers under criminal law, not under traffic law.
Well, exactly. We are doing the same thing. We are booking under 283 IPC. Regular FIR we are making. Regular FIR is done. Vehicle is seized and it becomes court property. The fellow has to appear in the court and he has to, like any other criminal case, he has to face the trial.
But add a charge, intention to maim or injure or something.
No. It is because that. The problem is that something in criminal cases, something is called mens rea is there. For example, a road accident, even if person is drunk, he is not charged under 302.
Got it.
Okay, he is charged under 304.
The mens rea.
And since mens rea is not there, because there is no intention there. Though his act of negligence may cause the death of somebody. That is 304.
Point taken. Yeah. Point taken. Moving on to some of the disincentives. Coming back to lane, my belief is if you don't crack the issue of lane discipline, you're not going to fix anything at the end of the day. And when I say lane discipline, a person on the left lane has to take left. The person cannot head off to the right from the left, which happens every other vehicle. Or for that, so that's one aspect of the kind of lane discipline. In a narrow 2-lane road, 1 lane on each side, you see this overseas, that however long the queue is, people will stay on that 1 lane. And it clears. But here, they will go on the 2nd lane and the opposite side then gets blocked and then we are facing each other like a Kurukshetra war or something. So the point therefore is, what can we do to improve this lane discipline? And I have one suggestion to table. At least on 10 junctions or 15 junctions, the person on the left lane, if the signal has turned for the left signal, force the person to take left and say, go figure it out how you will get on with your way. Don't let that person wait to go straight. And use the penalty of your intelligent camera to penalize such a person who's on the left lane.
Well, lane discipline is, I can say, the poorest in Bangalore city. In fact, both lane disciplines, either it is speed-oriented lane discipline or direction-oriented lane discipline. Both types of lane discipline is very, very poor, I can say. Particularly, you are right because the number of vehicles which needs to get released when the green light comes doesn't get released because of poor lane discipline. Right. Because people crisscross from right to left and left to right. That is very typical. We see in most of the junctions. And somehow, major problem is the two-wheelers. Two-wheelers, particularly, you just stop any two-wheeler on the road and ask him about lane discipline. He does not know. He say he may not be knowing anything about that. So that is the way things are. Actually, in fact, initially we tried to make physical barriers, but it did not work because it created more problems. Now, anyhow, now that we are having more manpower for traffic regulation, definitely we will be, after fixing some of the major problematic areas, we will be focusing on direction-oriented lane discipline. As far as speed-oriented lane discipline is concerned, particularly if you go to airport road, there you can see the slowest vehicle will be on the right lane.
Exactly. I was going to come. That's my next point actually.
Which is very...
And that person is singing Battamiz Dil or something. He's listening to that.
So that is across all highways, I can say. All highways in India, you can see all trucks on the right lane. Instead of the left lane. They should be in left lane, but they are all in the right lane. That is why last week I have written to NHAI to go for some sort of height barrier for the right lanes. so that the trucks compulsory should be on the left lane, because it is very difficult for policemen to stop something somewhere in the middle of the road and try to do segregation. It is not possible. He may get killed. It is very difficult. It's not possible. So the best way is to put some sort of height barrier, so that the fast moving, that is car or two-wheelers only can pass on the right lane, and the left lane is only for buses and the trucks. So initially if you do, I think 2-3 places, because that road is about 26 kilometers. So if you have, say, about 4 or 5 places such height barriers,
let's just force them to come to the middle and the left lane.
Middle and the left lane, then I think things will be much easier.
It's a very interesting idea.
Yeah, I have written to them, but I don't know whether the Highway Act permits them.
And the second out-of-box idea I had was to go to the RTO and basically pick up those lorries for their paper checking. Moment lorry people will quickly realize that paper checking is happening on the outer lane, they will stay on the left 2 lanes. Because that's how human behavior works. There's a policeman, I won't do it.
But the problem is, it's difficult on the highway.
I know,
to just stop any vehicle. Stopping a vehicle on the highway is a bit difficult. That is why somehow we have not been successful in that.
Would you ever be in favor of congestion tax for city centers and this city has many city centers, but are you a favor of congestion charge as a way to go forward as a disincentive for private vehicle ownership?
Well, if you ask me, I will always vote for public transport only, because all these
which means congestion charges make sense for you?
Yeah, makes sense. But only thing is, if you have good public transport, first, you have public transport, good public transport, if it is available, then all other measures you can have. All other even tax, you can raise the taxes for cars, two-wheelers, everything can do.
Yeah, so that's a Singapore route. So would you be a votary of higher taxes on vehicles, private vehicles, to dissuade people buying them?
Yes, but at the same time, good public transport should also be made available.
Co-terminus,
Yeah.
in terms of things.
Like for example, if you see the fares, bus fares, a person two people traveling in a two-wheeler is much cheaper to go to distance A to B rather than going in the bus.
Got it. The last one on the disincentive, this thing is parking. There are roads that we can't park on, arterial roads, etc. But would you be a votary of parking charges for all streets by zone, including residential streets and smaller streets, get fundamentally into a concept that all people who park on the road need to have a sticker for that zone to be able to park on the road at that point of time? And you could have checks between 2 and 4 in the morning where you go around, and if there's a vehicle parked without that sticker, you fine straight away, no questions asked. That's the fining basis. So fundamentally, consider parking, and there can be tired parking. So you can technically have no parking areas. You'll have paid parking contracts like you have right now with some agencies. The third category is everybody who parks on a road must have a sticker for that zone which has a certain price, and make that, instead of trying to say you can't buy your second vehicle, third vehicle, make that as a chargeable, it's a public asset, and make that chargeable. Is that a way to think about? Because this is also a disincentive for going for private car ownership.
DULT has that comprehensive parking policy that if it is implemented, I think it's the same thing. If it is implemented, BBMP implements that, I think all parking in the city will become charge parking only. But I favor that the parking fee should be there for all commercial areas and other main roads. As far as residential areas are concerned, it should become a little gated type. We should give 1 or 2 entries only in the particular residential area. So that generally what happens in residential areas now, all these taxis and other, they come and park in the residential vicinity and create huge problem for the residents. So residential areas should be totally segregated in the sense all side roads should be closed and only one entry to that particular area or particular residential locality should be given and one exit, so that other persons may not be able to unnecessarily enter that area. So that way, even if there is no parking, zero parking fee also, parking fee for that residential area, there won't be any problem. But of course, all other areas in the city, it should be paid parking.
Moving on to the last 2 points I have got. You are right now undertaking an exercise in change management on scale. This is my management hat. And in fact, there's a member in the audience who actually brought this whole idea of change management into my head. How do you address this issue? I mean, this has issues of the organization's culture, It's about motivating people. It is about using technology, having the war room. This whole change management exercise where the whole department is geared to have a certain sense of pride in what they are doing, deliver on the outcomes they are supposed to do. As the head of the traffic department, how do you address this issue of change management in the space that you are in?
Well, it is in need of the hour. Otherwise, we are doomed. In the sense, we have to change. We have to change and we have to perform now. Otherwise, the way...
So you give motivational talks to your people every other day?
Yeah, of course, we are having meetings almost every alternate day. And more than that, we are motivating our officers to come out with solutions for problems. For example, every junction has some problem here or there. Just fix it, fix those problems. Little whatever, even, like for example, yesterday, one junction at KR-Puram, that is Butterhalli junction, one side road was closed yesterday. Like that day before yesterday, some other junction, something was done. Like in Mutyal Nagara, today I told there is a meeting going on there. Then in Gangamangudi junction, there was the problem of carriageway being less during the evening peak hours. So that little extra, 2 feet extra has to be given. Like that, small things. Small things, if you can improve the flow. And our policy right now, what we have given to all officers is that no person, no vehicle should wait for the third green. Okay, a person is driving and he has come to the signal. If the first green, if he goes, okay, there's no problem. Second green, also no problem. If he has to wait for the second phase, second green, okay. But he should not go up to the third green.
That's a signal, okay. Phase signal.
Phase signal. He should not wait till
so long. How do you motivate these people?
No, if the person is waiting for the third green, then there is something wrong and we have to do something there. Some improvement has to happen. So that we should ensure that the fellow goes up to at least second phase. Right. Okay, in peak hour, first phase he has to go. But in the non-peak hours, or in the peak hours, at least 2 phases. He can't wait more than 3
Do you reward
years.
the inspectors who come up with solutions and stuff like that?
Of course, we are right now in the beginning of, you can say, trying to focus certain things. But the reward and other things will follow once at least we reach that our target of 30% improvement. Okay.
You have a war room also. I guess that's the B-track room, etc.
Yeah. I think it is
do you have
a long time now.
Do you have a scream room where you can go and scream? You know, it's a pretty frustrating job. A punching bag or some such thing.
No, we don't have such things because one needs to be a little more calmer than... Okay. And, if you see the traffic management center, I request all of you to visit the traffic management center. It's one of the most modern traffic management centers we have got, with a huge, almost 24 cube video wall, where you can see the cameras, all junctions, how traffic movement is there, how it is going on. And generally, senior officers will be sitting there during peak hours and monitoring the traffic situation from there. I think if you have time, sometimes you just come down to TMC, Traffic Management Center. Generally, it is open for public. People can come and see the entire traffic, how it is being managed in the city.
Yeah, anybody interested can also write into me and I'll facilitate. It's a very, and they want the public to come and see how this is done. Yeah. And do you challan any of your people who are sitting in the office and not on the streets?
Of course, when they...
I'm sure you'd like them to be more on the field than in the office.
Yeah, definitely, because everybody should be on road at peak hour. That is our policy now. Because traffic regulatory work is a tough job. It is very difficult for the traffic policeman to stand on the road and regulate the traffic full day. It is very difficult, particularly because of the adverse weather, smoke and other things. That is why we have made shift system. So only the traffic police is the only police unit in our state which has a shift system, where morning shift will be separate and evening shift is separate, and we want our people only to work for 7 hours only, not more than that on the road. And they should compulsorily go for a weekly off. Every week they have to get a leave. So that's what we are doing, so that they should be their health has to be most important, because if they become sick, it becomes difficult. So it is a big motivation, because shift system in police department is not heard anywhere, in fact. So we have shift system for all traffic policemen, and only officers will be there on the road during peak hours.
Well, thank you, Ravi, first of all, for organizing this meet with Mr. Saleem, Dr. Saleem. We all know him, and I must congratulate the government, at least in one respect, for bringing back Saleem to traffic. We know what all. Now, another one is a suggestion, not that you don't know about it, we have spoken about interconnectedness. So in such meetings, is apart from traffic, the police, because as Saleem said, it is only regulating traffic is their business. So the interconnected departments, at least somebody from BBMP, if not the Commissioner Special BMT, some 2 or 3 if they are present, it becomes easier. I mean, that of course is something. Just a quick suggestion, some 1 or 2 things. We were talking about these incentives and penalties. So those are traffic offenses easily. My simple one is, even without using any technology, anybody who jumps, especially two-wheelers and all that, see, the police should just stop him there and take him aside and detain him for about half an hour. See, he is trying to save 1 or 2 minutes and doing all this. If you do that, you just put him aside and then say, if that may be one simple solution, not in respect to everyone, but they know how to do that. I mean, that is one thing. Number 2, on the parking thing that you are mentioning. First, if you can do something to prevent parking on the footpaths. See, although you didn't say, for instance, the 100-feet road itself, where the footpaths are wide, now I am not able to walk on the footpath. See, because that is something which can be done. It is, we know the numbers. I have myself complained a number of times and things like that. That is something that is doable. And the third point, which Saleem himself mentioned, converting some of these smaller residential areas into some sort of gated thing that, where narrow streets are there. And of course, that would mean a lot of resistance also. It's not easy. But maybe, you see, some of the suggestions, even though it doesn't pertain to police, they must initiate. See, if you initiate, then take it to the corporation, to the government, etc. That becomes, we can gain some. And from the people's side, we can also support. In a particular area, for instance, I am prepared to do something. Another last point about public transport, you are mentioning quite a lot. Today, why people are not able to use a lot of public transport, one reason is last mile connectivity. See, if I get down in a station or a bus stop and I have to walk a mile, auto rickshaw you will not get, or he will charge 200 rupees even for 1 mile. So that is one thing, of course, it's a larger issue.
Yeah, and outside this, I mean, actually people have suggested that in writing to me in large numbers.
So as I said, police must also push this. See, these are the things. I mean, I will not take more time because there will be others. Thank you.
Sir, actually, the first point what you mentioned, right now we are focusing on regulation and not enforcement, sir. And most important thing for us today is the image makeover, credibility. We should get credibility. That is important now. Today, what happens if a policeman is flagging a vehicle? Somehow people have suspicion. Okay, that we have to remove that. We have to remove that, and we should enhance our credibility. That is, we are focusing on that. And secondly, as far as our footpath parking is concerned, we have taken up it under 283 now. Though since good footpaths are there right now, those footpaths there is not much violation of footpath parking. But of course, in other areas, we have a lot of, particularly Indira Nagar, I see.
100-feet road is under construction, sir. So it's not a good footpath yet.
Indira Nagar and Bengaluru area, of course, it is there. We will take up these things, sir.
Yeah, ma'am.
Mr. Saleem, I'm just about 6 months into the city from Dubai, and the frustration of coming from there to here is very obvious. But I'm here to assist. I've assisted a lot of road safety campaigns in Dubai, and whatever way we can help, I'm there. The two-wheelers cutting in to a big car from the left, with or without helmets, is, I think, life, there is no value at all. And it is a problem both for the cars and the two-wheelers. So there is a concerted effort to educate two-wheelers needed on a mass basis, not only for the potholes that they go in. So that's one. And I want to invite you to Domasandra Circle, sir. Just come with me between Sarjapur Road and Vartur Road. Today, 1 point.
That is not in our jurisdiction.
Outside, that's Bangalore rural.
So it doesn't come under you?
No, that's how the silos work.
So I need one person.
Welcome to Bangalore. Bye-bye, Dubai.
You have to come 1.5 hours today on the group. Luckily, I was not there. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Next, please.
Sir, I have stayed in Bangalore for 31 years. I was born here in Indiranagar. I have stayed here 31 years. One of the reasons the traffic police have lost their credibility is because of the towing that you are doing, sir. Let me tell you, there was cases booked against citizens in Indiranagar near the hospital on CMH Road because they hit some people who were towing. It was not the fault of the people who hit, it was the fault of the people who were towing. It was the fault of the traffic police who were towing two-wheelers left, right and center, parking it near the BDI complex, charging 800 rupees. I have paid on Paytm. 1,500 rupees if you want a challan. But the traffic police, one second sir, the traffic police will not come because he is sick, he has gone for duty, variety of reasons. This one reason, big loss of credibility for the traffic department in Bangalore, sir. Sir, one more thing. Please, sir, if you're looking for achieving the 30% goal, fix the auto drivers in Bangalore. They are so badly behaved. Show me one auto driver in Bangalore who runs as per the meter, sir. Fix this issue. The private vehicles in Bangalore, 25-30% of them will disappear, sir. That said, we are very happy to have you, sir. Lot of respect for you. We are looking forward for some positive improvements in our city that we hold so dear to ourselves. Thank you for coming back, and please do whatever is required to fix the auto drivers.
Auto drivers, again, somebody else's remit. Come, Tony. I will just enlighten you on the silos of government.
Yeah, good evening. I'm a big fan of the smart parking, which is taking place all over the city. But it's got two problems. One, cars don't want to pay, so they park on the lane, not in the parking. With the result, one lane gets taken away in many cases. Second, I see in many areas, the school buses have been parked throughout the day in the smart parking. Are they paying the fees? Because the genuine car parkers who want to pay and park there do not get parking. With the result, they are parking on the lanes. This is a very important thing. School buses should not be parked the whole day in that area, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi and BIC for doing this. Thank you, Dr. Saleem, for coming back. Bengaluru was getting into the international press for all the wrong reasons, and I think the tide has turned. It's gotten so bad that neighboring states were using our traffic as an excuse to lure away investments, and now I think with you coming back, the investments are also going to come back and much bigger. The question I have is, I'm extremely delighted to hear repeatedly your support for public transport and public transport first and pedestrians. One of the biggest reasons why bus is not being used as much as other modes of public transport, though bus carries 10 times more than metro today and probably carries 20 times more than suburban train, even when both of them are running in full capacity, is lack of speed. The bus is stuck in the same traffic as the rest of the two-wheelers and four-wheelers, which is unfair. And because we lost an opportunity of creating bus priority lanes in Bengaluru as was planned years ago, the cheaper and next best option seems to be the bus priority lane, which we experimented with on the outer ring road from Silk Board to the K.R.Puram junction. And you know the history, I don't want to repeat that. But the question to you is, there was a plan to do 12 bus priority lanes in the 12 high corridor, high traffic streets or roads, Bengaluru. Where do we stand with that? Do you support the idea of bus priority lane? And if you do, when can we see this happen? Or what are the obstacles that are stopping the bus priority lane from becoming a reality today? I have many more questions, but I'll stop.
Regarding this towing vehicle, of course, we have stopped towing vehicles now. I think stopped for good only. And we don't want any towing vehicles to be used. Now we are going to have our own police government towing vehicles in future, not the private towing vehicles. That also, right now we don't have. Even the government towing vehicles also will not be going to have in near future. Okay, so that is point well taken. That had hit us badly, particularly as far as credibility is concerned. And secondly, this auto driver, this thing. Actually, in fact, auto service is one of the good services if it is improved. Okay, because it is a good intermediate public transport, I can say. And we are actually in favor of encouraging auto rides. That is the reason why we are bringing back our prepaid auto stands. In fact, we had about 16 prepaid auto stands across the city in important places like MG Road, Commercial Street, and shopping malls, hospitals, KSRTC bus stand, and other places. So now we are restarting back because sometime back because of the COVID, they were all had been become defunct. Now we are bringing back so that people can have good auto service. And if auto service improves, then people will generally shift from personal vehicles to autos. So we will try our best to ensure that auto service becomes much better. And secondly, the smart parking, of course, it is one of the good move of BBMP to have a smart parking system in some of the roads where they have provided parking in the smart city roads. And in fact, we are encouraging people to ensure that they park in those lanes only. And some good revenue also is generated for the BBMP to maintain that road also. But the problem is the vehicles not parking in those designated parking places. In fact, we are booking those cases. In fact, since most of the cases now booked are through technology, it may not be known. In fact, people may not be knowing that the vehicle has been booked. In one of the, recently one doctor had come to me, he had about 12 tickets for wrong parking for the same place, 12 tickets. And he has to pay about 6,000 rupees fine for the 12 this thing, plus the enhanced fines for the subsequent offences. Totally, it became 12,000 rupees fines, which he paid finally. And I told him that you may not be knowing that you have been picked up and or you have been charged. Even many citizens will not be knowing that although some person will be parked in a no parking place, but he is already he has been charged. Okay. And another thing, one statistics I did not mention. That Bangalore city is, I can say we have the record of highest number of booking of violations. In fact, this year, totally how many cases we have booked? Totally 96 lakh cases we have booked. Highest for any city in the world. I don't think any city in the world. That is only for 11 months. In this December, if you take totally, it will be more than a crore. Okay, more than 1 crore, 10 million cases for 10 million vehicles. So each vehicle has been booked in Bangalore city, I can say. And our total fine amount collected is also 174 crores, which is again highest for any city in India at least, because I don't know about other countries. So generally, all these vehicles which are violating the parking norms are booked. And school buses, of course, we had a safe route to school project earlier, which again we are bringing it back now. There actually we had a twin objective. One is the staggering of school timings, that all schools should open before 8:30, so that the school traffic and the main peak hour traffic should not merge or should not be combined. So we are segregating the school traffic. All schools should start before 8:30 and they should close before 3 o'clock. And that segregation should take place. That is the first, I can say, first plan for the safe route to school. And secondly, it was the school children should come in public transport. That is the school bus or school van or even other modes of public transport, so that the congestion around the schools will be less. Particularly, we see a lot of problems in prestigious schools, particularly Residency Road in the morning and evening, that is 3 o'clock, around 3 o'clock, I can say, and other schools also in the vicinity, in the central area. And this problem is there in other areas, even South Bangalore also, we have many schools where this problem is there. So now what we are, at that time, what we had done is we had banned the parking of private vehicles for 200 meters around schools. That we should want to get it back. But before that, we want to do a lot of studies now, because a lot of things have changed. This was done in 2005. Long back, the Safe Route to School project was done in 2005. In fact, we got an international award for Safe Route to School project at that time. So since we are going to bring it back, but it may take a little time because we need to conduct a lot of surveys and studies about the current status of school traffic in most of the areas. But we are going to do it now.
Last was the bus priority lane.
Yeah. Next is the 12 bus priority lanes. One actually bus priority lane was there from Hebbal flyover right up to Silkboard Junction. It was done. But since the metro construction work has started, this has been abandoned now. But only the problem is we can't have a bus priority lane in most of the city roads where the carriageway or the right of way is not sufficient. We need to have 3 lanes for bus priority lane. Wherever 3 lanes are available as a right of way, and if the road length is considerably long, then only we can have, otherwise it is not possible to have a bus priority lane. But we will try, once the metro work is completed in the outer ring road and that stretch, definitely we'll go back to the old system of having bus priority lane there. And other new roads, particularly the peripheral ring road which is likely to come in near future, there definitely will, from the beginning itself, we will ensure that a proper dedicated bus lane is provided in that.
Thank you.
Sir, those two-wheelers without helmets, can we just sell them the helmet instead of fining them at the spot? There is, every day towards my office, I face at least 2-3 places where there's like wrong way traffic. Can you incentivize people to just hit these people?
They will resell the helmet, that's the problem. If you sell the helmet, they will resell.
Is it okay to hit someone, because I really want to sometimes? I know.
For the record, it's not.
Yeah, I know it. Then, sir, in Indonesia, they have these citizen sort of like traffic managers where people just like driving, hand them money and say incentivized to actually do this on a day-to-day basis. And I've actually been saved at least 2-3 times by people like that who just volunteer and do this out of their own goodwill. And I hand them money once in a while. But you have volunteer citizens who are doing something like this, but can we really incentivize them? Can we donate to people like that who actually do that?
Like wardens and all, the marshals.
Can we donate to them? Like, can they carry like a UPI QR code or something like that?
Next.
Hello, hi. I'm not going to take long. I have a small suggestion. I live in the CBD area itself, and every day we are going. We have at least about 15 to 20 schools there. My suggestion is, we as an RWA, whenever we approach the institution, to come forward and make a volunteering team and actually help the traffic police, because I've heard personally stories how difficult it is for 2 traffic police or 5 traffic police to manage the Bishop Cotton's or any school. I'm just giving you a name, because it's impossible. The parent doesn't care. He just parks his car and says, I have to go, and he cannot do anything. So why don't you all take this on your thing to actually talk to these schools and to create and make it a cool thing to get parents to actually, as a must, volunteer for a week, say, week in 6 months or something, because the 5,000 children are there. So even if they did that, they'll be a good parent, he will be a good resident, he will create another good child, and your hands will only increase. The same goes with all the offices.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
So my question borders on law and order, something which we did not touch upon during the talk. I have seen that the cases of road rage are on the rise, and sometimes the locals, especially the non-arterial roads, are blocked by the locals, and it leads to scuffles, and Bangalore traffic is known to raise tempers. So I have personally experienced that there's a lack of first response whenever we try to contact police or even traffic police in such situations. So I would request you to please take note of this and ensure that if there are road rage incidents which happen in the future, at least there are boots on the ground so that citizens, they don't take matters into their own hands and don't get punched in the face. Thank you.
Well, we have the Safe City project, government's ambitious project, which is being rolled out now, wherein we have about 7,500 cameras across the city being installed now. Already 4,000 cameras have been installed, particularly for preventing these unsavory incidents, and also for immediate quick police response. And also about 50 locations, the safety islands have been created, where a blue box is being created, where just you have to press a button, and immediately that alerts the police control room, and there is a mic also is there. From there it gets activated, and you can speak directly from there itself to the police control room. So that is in 50 places it is being done now. Today the pilot, everything has been done. So I think another 15-20 days time, we can see the Safe City project being rolled out now. We'll have a better mechanism for police response.
Next.
Yeah, dial 112 is also, it is pan-India number now, pan-India number. There also it takes not more than 15 minutes for the police response now across the city.
Good evening, sir. Thank you. This was a wonderful session. So it's not really a citizen question. I'm a mobility researcher, and therefore So I observed that your LOS, your KPIs are in some sense, they hold a lever to sustainability as well. For example, we saw how pickup and drop-off zones are a little difficult because of mixed-use development. Or, I mean, in some sense, I think congestion itself is a deterrent to private vehicle ownership. But you wouldn't use congestion as that lever. My question is that, so in the long run, as cities are sort of moving towards more sustainable modes, promoting public transport, getting chargers, getting electric vehicles, does that in some sense reflect in your long-term strategy for cities? For example, if there's a charging station that comes up near the road, like how are we going to navigate with that? Or, so that's largely my question, like what is the link between your KPIs and sustainable cities at large?
This will need some time. Okay.
I'll ask you later. Yeah.
Next.
Good evening, sir, and thank you very much for everything that you're doing. I have, as a motorist and as a pedestrian, I face two things every single day, and there's something that you already know. One is the two-wheelers who ride on the pavement without being caught. Every day, even though the balustrades are there on some of the nicer streets, they choose to ride on the pavement by throwing caution to the wind, and they don't care about the pedestrians. That's one. Two is at a junction. If I'm at a junction waiting for my green signal, and the other junction person has got a red, I'm terrified to drive ahead at my green because the guys who got the red do not stop and continue to go for the next 30 seconds, which is so dangerous. So these are the two things. If they can be monitored and punished, or the offences can be booked,
They will be.
Thank you.
Murli?
Good evening, sir. Muralidhar Rao. Now, there was this talk about dedicated lane and priority lane for buses, etc. But where are the buses, sir? Now, BMTC has supposedly about 6,000 buses, of which about 4,000 are possibly on the roads. All the rest are hanging around. Now, actually, there are over 50,000 buses on Bangalore roads. There is a Citizen Matters report saying that there are 50,000 buses on the Bangalore roads. Now, all of them, they are all licensed as contract carriages. Now, if the government can, change that rule and allow them to operate as regular bus services, half the problems of the city will be. And there was, in fact, an operation like that, ZipGo, and which folded up because the government imposed all kinds of restrictions on them. But the equivalent of ZipGo's, shuttle, city flow, etc., are operating already in Mumbai, Chennai, and other places, and they are providing an excellent service, which provides for leaving out, your car for at least your workday commute. That is helping a lot. And yes, this is a policy issue. About 20 years back, Ravi knows, I had lodged a PIL for allowing private sector into the bus services. I will revive it, sir. Would you like to join me as a co-petitioner in your individual capacity? Thank you, sir.
Well, one classic example is Bangalore and Udupi, where city buses or private buses are there and excellent services they are providing. But your suggestion will pass it on to the transport department, sir, which has to take the final call. Okay.
Hello, sir. It's actually fascinating to see your presence on Twitter because I think the Gen Zs, at least, everybody is looking on Twitter a lot, and just seeing the kind of engagement you want to have with the common youth right now, it's exceptional. So thank you so much for that, firstly. And secondly, just talking as a woman here, right? I think I feel the safest in Bangalore if I compare to any other city in India. Although the roads could be well lit, but I see people on patrol late at night as well. So thank you so much for that second thing, because as a woman, I think this is really necessary. Not talking as I'm work for a venture capital fund actually. So I was just thinking, there are two ways of addressing problems. One is a more manual, resource intensive way of going and doing stuff. And then there's no longevity in that because governments change hands and then people kind of, get replaced, right? But technology is something that cannot be replaced. So I was thinking Bangalore has so much of tech talent. Why not do a hackathon, state the problem statements, and actually invite those engineers to kind of build solutions for the government? And I would love to collaborate with you on that, because we as a venture capital fund as well, we focus on very, very early founders, and we have seen amazing talent in Bangalore. I think if we start doing that, it will be more sustainable. And once government starts using it, they won't stop using it.
Good, thank you, ma'am. Actually, Bangalore city, only traffic is a problem. Otherwise, if you see the policing per se, Bangalore is one of the safest cities in India. And our law and order and crime wings, they are doing excellent job. In fact, many things, generally it is not in the public domain. The work, the amount of work they do, the technology they are using is amazing. Thank you very much, sir, and thank you very much all the participants. It is, I can say, good suggestions have come. What almost 12 to 15 people have spoken, and those suggestions what they have given, definitely we will consider these suggestions to improve the traffic further. See, one of the good things about such interaction is that we get ideas. And ideas definitely, once they are given a proper focus, and things can be done and decisions can be taken to make the city better and more livable. In fact, traffic, of course, is a problem in most of the cities in India, not only Bangalore. If you go to all circular cities which has a radial type of network, then the traffic problems is alarming, I can say, because of the population increase and also the volume of traffic increasing in such a large number. In fact, not only Bangalore city, even Chennai, Hyderabad, Delhi, Kolkata, and all these cities have more traffic problems. But most of the cities, the problems are different. Our problems are different because we have the capacity problem. And some cities, particularly a city like Hyderabad, the new city has good road infrastructure, but the old city is same problem what problem we are facing, the same problems are there. So such type of interaction will definitely help us to get some ideas, and because of these ideas only we can do something on the ground. And I will assure you that we'll try our best, whatever means we have got. In fact, today we are slightly in a better position to manage traffic, I can say, compared to say a few years back, because today the traffic management or traffic flow, maintaining a traffic flow is the priority of the government, and government has taken in a, I can say, in a very positive manner. The very fact that immediately 4 traffic police stations have been sanctioned, 2 traffic subdivisions have been sanctioned so quickly, itself goes to show that government is interested in making the city much safer and reduce the journey time to some extent. I think towards that we are working on that. As from our traffic police point of view, our main job now is to increase our credibility, as already I have mentioned, increase the credibility and increase the acceptance level, because people should accept us and also should believe us. That is more important. If you start believing us, then bringing change becomes much easier, because you need a lot of credibility to bring change. Unless we have credibility, then change management is very difficult. Like a one-way system what we had done earlier, because at that time the credibility was very high. People were believing us that we are trying to do something for the city, not for some ulterior motive or with some ulterior purpose. It is done for something good for the city. That is why the acceptability was very high at that time. So that acceptability we have to gain. So that is the reason why we are now working towards that. And please believe us, and we will try to do better and make the city much, I can say, much more livable. Thank you.
Very, very well said. On that note, we'll close. Thank you.